The president was back out on the road today trying to sell his American Families Plan, a sweeping proposal to provide hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funds for social programs, including child care, health care, and education. Today, he was pitching the plan to voters in Crystal Lake, Illinois, a suburban swing district northwest of Chicago, an area won by his Republican predecessor, but represented by Democrats in Congress. It was his first visit to Illinois since winning the White House. He urged Congress to pass the plan along with the bipartisan infrastructure agreement.
What I want to talk about today is human infrastructure. To truly build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, to truly deal everybody in this time, we need to invest in our people. My American Families Plan and the other elements of the Build Back Better agenda, experts in Wall Street, analysts have said that we'll create millions of good-paying jobs for years and decades to come.
Politico reports that the bipartisan infrastructure deal could hit the Senate floor as early as the week of July 19th. Peter, let's start with President Biden in Illinois, in a district that actually his predecessor won, but a Democrat represents in Congress. Not entirely solid Democratic ground, but his American Families Plan that he was pitching today and the Jobs Act, the infrastructure bill, are both much more popular in America than Republicans in Congress would have you believe.
Well, look, you've got a president here, unlike his predecessor, who is trying to build on his coalition, who is trying to go beyond the people who voted for him a few months ago to expand his support base. And his approval rating right now is hovering in the 50% to low 50% range, higher than Trump ever got. Remember, President Trump didn't actually try to expand his base. He stuck with the people who brought him there. He thought he could reproduce that same, sort of inside straight that won the Electoral College, but not the popular vote a second time. It didn't work out. President Biden is taking a more traditional view of politics, where he's trying to reach out to districts where he has a chance of winning over people. And he's trying to appeal to them with programs like his social spending infrastructure plan, the idea of saying that the government is going to take a more active role in improving people's lives in a way that it hasn't done in a generation.
It's appealing, Ron Insana, to Americans all over this country, the idea of more jobs, higher wages, investments in their communities. What we are hearing from a lot of Republicans, however, is that all of this government activity, this assistance to people that's stopping them from taking jobs, all of it contributes to an overheating in the economy and inflation. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that's an overheated degree of rhetoric among some who suggest that inflation is more than just transitory, as the Federal Reserve has described it. We've seen some disruptions in the supply chain around the world that created shortages of various different commodities, partly a result of the pandemic and other reasons. I happen to agree with the Fed. I think this inflation pop is temporary. I think the economy is growing at an extraordinarily fast clip, the fastest since Ronald Reagan. I don't think it's yet in danger of overheating, though, Ali, because we still have 8.5 million unemployed people. Now, we got a number of job openings released this morning, and there are over 9 million jobs available. And so until those are filled, and until you see inflation become a more permanent problem, which I actually doubt will happen, I don't think it's something we ought to be worried about. We ought to be worried about getting back to full employment and getting the economy on a sustainable growth path for the long term.